saw the video on my status yesterday. I was on TikTok the other day and I saw a pastor saying the exact thing that I thought last week about, the fact that Jesus died and resurrected, and even gave the same example of the names that I called. So it shows that the faith that we have is not just anybody cannot just come up and start saying this is what I know. The faith that we have has history. You can trace it, and that means we can say I can teach about Jesus is God here, and somebody else that is not even here can be teaching it, and we can actually teach the same thing. We may not go word for word, but what we'll be saying will be the same thing. And so today we are looking at One True God Part 2. One True God Part 2. You know, even last year, I didn't even know. Just last year too, we were teaching on this our God. Last year around this April Easter, and we did series on almost all the same thing we are doing now. So once again, one True God Part 2, and today we are looking at evidence beyond belief. Evidence beyond belief. Evidence beyond belief. The belief is the one with F. Evidence beyond belief. Now, today we're arguing for the existence of God. Not that we need to argue for like Pastor Matt said in his song that God is God, whether you agree or whether you not agree. But then the scripture said in the book of First Peter that we must be able to give defense for our faith. First Peter, that we must be able to give defense for our faith. That was what Peter was saying. And if you watch, when Paul went to Athens and they say there's an unknown God, Paul defended that there is a God in heaven. And he even said that it is because their heart is yearning towards a God and they do not know that God. So Paul said he came to introduce that God to them. So Paul did what we call apologetics. The apologetics is defending the faith, Christian apologetics. He did it without even quoting scriptures, and he began to give them why there's a God in heaven, and that the God in heaven is not this God they are talking about, that their heart yearns to know the God. So today, when we say evidence beyond belief, we are arguing, like I said, for the existence of God, not because we need to argue for him to be God. But then again, we understand that there are certain people who, the reason why they are asking questions, when we were growing up, they told us when you go out for evangelism and people ask you questions, don't answer them. That has not been a very good model of evangelism, especially if those people are asking the questions genuinely. There are people who ask silly questions. They say this and this and this. They just ask very funny questions. But if the questions that these people are asking are genuine questions, Peter said we must be able to give the defense for the faith that we are believing. And one thing about the Christian faith that we believe in? It's not just that about the spiritual encounter. It's also an intelligent faith that you can go. There's an history to it that you can go over. You can go years back and begin to trace the history. It's not something that somebody will just say someone. No, it's a faith that has history. So today, like I said, we are looking at One True God Part 2, and we are looking at evidence beyond belief. So now, the message this morning is: imagine coming in contact with an atheist or somebody that is not a believer. Now, I also need to put a disclaimer. Some people, they need spiritual encounter that they need intelligent arguments. That's the truth. Some people, there's no amount of intelligent argument that you give to them. If they do not have a kind of spiritual encounter, they will not come to God. I remember the other religion, an imam in a mosque, where he had an encounter with God. He said he was praying when he had an encounter with God. No, how did he know that was God? See, when you see where you come from, you go know that there you come from. So he said he had an encounter like the light, and God spoke to him. He said immediately he knew that the person speaking in God, and he knew already the kind of faith that he was going to practice. Now, that kind of person, and this person, when I was listening to him years ago, is somebody that has gone far. You have studied a lot. What kind of intelligent conversation do you think will convince that kind of person? Many times, intelligent conversation is for people who are genuinely seeking answers, not for people who have made up their mind that there's no God. Are you getting my point? So, some of those people, we need to put them in prayers. The kind of encounter that Paul had, the kind of encounter that many people have had. So, some of those people, we need to put them in prayer that the Lord will show them a level of encounter. But then again, when we make this kind of arguments, we make it for people who are open-minded to see and believe what we are saying. So, like I said, just assume it in your mind that you are having a conversation with an atheist. When we are in Ibadan, I used to teach something like, how to evangelize to a Muslim and all that. And one particular lady came one time. I don't know if she was not listening. Now, she now went to evangelize to a Muslim. And then this man said, don't worry, tomorrow I will come. Let us sit down and have a conversation. She now messaged me, what am I going to say? What am I going to say? So it shows that sometimes we don't place value on this kind of messages because we have not been in a circle where people ask this kind of question. Do you get? When you maybe you travel out, you go study abroad, and then this particular, you now encounter somebody and say, there's no God. you'll be surprised. No, Nigerians, some Nigerians have not met people who don't believe there's no God. Some Nigerians, everybody just have that notion that there is God, but there are people who truly believe that there's no God. So that's what we are doing today. So how do you face this kind of people? What do you have in your mind when you are facing them? What are the things to have in mind? Number one, improving the existence of God to an unbeliever. We will have to go beyond biblical proof to common ground of logic, science, and human experience. I come again. Improving the existence of God to an unbeliever or to an atheist. We will have to go beyond biblical proofs to common ground of logic, science, and human experience. Improving the existence of God to an unbeliever, we will have to go beyond biblical proofs to common ground of logic, science, and human experience. It means that let me come again. Improving the existence of God to an unbeliever or atheist, we will have to go beyond biblical proofs to common ground of logic, science, and human experience. Okay, so I've said this to say that I watched a debate one time. I think there's this YouTube that do some of these things. Then Nigerians, so they brought some people and this particular atheist, and this man was arguing with this atheist. There is God, though. What is it you are saying? The Bible said that those that say there's no God, they are foolish, and this was arguing with an atheist. Now that's even a wrong step to start with. You are arguing that there is God with an atheist from Scripture, one that does not believe in the Bible. So if you are going to argue the existence of God with someone that does not believe in the Bible, you must move to a common ground of logic, science, and human behavior. So you cannot start an argument that God exists and you are starting from Scripture to an atheist who does not believe what you are reading, that believes that the Bible is a figment of imagination or the Bible is a storybook. So if you are going to start anything with someone that does not believe in the God and the Bible, what you start is what? Is you start from logic points, from human experience. Maybe you are even sick, you have been healed. You can show the person, look at it. How do you explain this? I remember somebody on Twitter who, this particular guy who had, I think, cancer of the mouth or something like that. He had issue, the mouth was swollen like this. A lot, he cannot even take anything in. And then they gave him 3 days to go and die. And they gave him some days to go and die. Then 3 days, he said he fasted. No food, nothing for 3 days. After all, I can't even eat well. So he fasted. And on the 3rd day, he said somebody came to his dream and had a surgery. They did a surgery on him. He said the thing went out. All the thing there left. I think if I can find the picture on Twitter, the person still pinning there. And he said when he went back to the hospital, because one of the person handling the case is an atheist, one of the doctors, he said they took the thing to all the labs, everything. He said that guy became a Christian. That's one of the ways you can also argue. By human what? Experience, by logic, which you are going to be examining now. So that kind of conversation, he said many people gave their lives to Christ, especially that atheist person now believe that truly there is somebody up there, there's a powerful person. Because according to him, he said there is no way you should be alive. And there's no way all these things should dry up in 3 days. No way. So one of the ways you cannot start, I want to argue, and say, in the book of this, no, they don't even believe in that. So you must go the way Peter did when he went to Athens, when he went there to argue with them. He said, I know that you guys are talking about unknown God, but this person is not unknown God. The person wants to have a relationship with you. I know that you yearn towards something. See, every human being knows their heart yearns towards a savior. Even people who do not agree that there is God, you see that they have an ideology of, I saw some people the other day who went to a burial ground of an Afrobeat artist who is late now, and they went there to go and prostrate and put. It shows that even though they are denying it, everybody hears that there is somebody in that place. That's why you ask some people, they say, I believe that there is God, but it's not the way people say there is God. No, every human being hears that there is a God somewhere. Is to be able to find that God that some people's issue. So you come to a common ground, not from Scripture, a common ground of logic or science. Number 2, almost the same with number 1. You cannot use the Bible to prove God to someone who does not already believe the Bible is true. You cannot use the Bible to prove God to someone who does not already believe the Bible is true. You must first establish that God exists. Then the Bible can be examined as evidence. I come again. You cannot use the Bible to prove God to someone who does not already believe the Bible is true. You must first establish that God exists, then the Bible can be examined as evidence. You cannot use the Bible to prove God to someone who does not already believe the Bible is true. You must first establish that God exists, then the Bible can be examined as evidence. So the Bible cannot be the starting point in arguing with somebody that does not believe what you are reading from. So you must establish some logic first. I remember we having a conversation with the boat driver when we came to Abuja newly. I think the guy has been offended by a so-called prophet. So he began to question everything. This guy was quoting many things. And then I went to a bit of logic and said, imagine getting to your house now and everything in your house, you left your house dirty. Everything has been arranged. Everything is fine. All that. I said, what will you do? He said, I go run now. So, and I told him, I said, you will assume that maybe somebody broke into your house and then designed all those things. He said, yes, maybe somebody broke into my house and do all those things that he did there. Because many times, atheists always believe that anything you see, there is a designer. You can't just come and say, an angel came into my house and gave me food. They will say you're lying, that somebody prepared the food. So we use that logic for them. So if you believe that angel didn't come into my house to put money in my pocket or give me food, then that means that particular thing you say there is a cost to it. That means also that this world that you are seeing that is properly designed, there is a designer behind it. So I told the guy, when you get home and see that kind of thing, that means there is a designer behind it because it is too properly designed for it to just evolve out of a bank theory or whatever thing. So you see, you will start by point of that logic, which we are going to be examining today. Point of that logic, you start from that point. And when you have not gotten the person to a point, then you now come to a point of using the Bible as evidence. You know, somebody even said something that the Bible was just written by men. Why is it that the Bible is against almost everything that your normal human flesh will naturally like? Number 3, we are talking what you should have in mind when you're about to have a conversation with someone who does not believe in God. This is not a discussion about religion. It is a discussion about reality. Either God exists or he does not. This is not a discussion about religion. It is a discussion about reality. Either God exists or he does not. So you don't start with an atheist and say, my church is this, my pastor is this. No, the focal point of the discussion is that you want to prove if God truly exists. This is not a discussion about religion. It's a discussion about reality. Either God exists or he does not. This is not a discussion about religion. It is a discussion about reality. Either God exists or he does not. So you're having this conversation, you are not having it from the point of, hey, my church, my pastor. You want to prove that there is a God in heaven. And that this God in heaven is not just the one that many people, like I said, many people say at the end that there is a God somewhere. But some of them have not been able to properly define that God. So you are telling me that thing you are bowing down to is a God, something that can just come and scatter with my leg. Do you get? These are all the things Paul was telling them in 18s. There are people who believe that there is God, though, and some people, their issue is accountability. Everybody wants to have a sense of spirituality. You hear somebody say, I have a relationship with God, I don't need to be in church like that. I just need to be, God is in my house, I'm in the house. No. The true God of heaven, any relationship that you have with him that does not come to a point where you begin to have fellowship with other brethren, is not, you are lying. So when you want to argue with an atheist, you don't start from the point that maybe you are coming from the point of your church or your pastor. You start from the point that there is a God in heaven first. From that point, you now begin to define that many other things that people call God is not the God of heaven. So you start by first proving one, that there is a God in heaven. Then second, you now define the kind of God that is in heaven. Because many people assume reality for God and they are angry. Some people who lost some of the atheists. The reason why they are an atheist is because, check some of them, they have gone through pain. My mother was sick. I prayed, she died. And now you are telling me, there's one guy that have one of these, will I call it web, or what will I call it now? Share this app, something that we usually chat on many years ago. He's an atheist. And one of the reasons he said is one of those things, where they pray for things they didn't get answer. They pray for things they didn't get answer. So some of those people, you see that they have been through certain pain, and then they now come to that conclusion. And that is what the Bible said in the book of Corinthians. He said that Paul was saying, he said the God of this world had blinded their eyes, that they cannot see the light of the glorious gospel of Jesus. See, that is the point that Satan wants to get many people to, where you don't get, now those kind of things, number one, start from wrong doctrine, where it feels that if you have enough faith, everybody you pray for will come back to life, or these things. Wrong doctrine. You see, wrong doctrine can even lead people to being an atheist. So many of these atheists you see now is because they have been taught wrongly. So when they lost their loved ones, they with all this kind of faith, my pastor says there is God. Many of them, it has not been captured in their faith. That there's what we call the crisis of faith. That sometimes you're a believer, but we do not have answers to certain things, and God is still faithful. Many people have not been open to this kind of teachings. So once you have faith, you learn. But so when we now lose somebody that is in the faith and die, they don't have answer to it. So they come to a conclusion that there is no God. So the first thing you have to do is, number one, that there is God. And then you now begin to give the right doctrine of the God of the Bible. So that they will not just call anything God. Number 4. If something is true, it should be able to stand both spiritual and logical scrutiny. If something is true, it should be able to stand both spiritual and logical scrutiny or logical research. If something is true, it should be able to stand both spiritual and logical research. So it means that it's just like, let me give an example of healing. Now, I was in a meeting, and the person came to give a testimony. I stopped taking my medication. He said that though God healed the person. When the man of God was about to pray for her, and the man of God, of course, who God has graced, working in the supernatural, he said, we don't ask people to leave their drugs, because if you are healed, science will not lie. Are you getting my point? If you are healed, science will not do what? Lie. If you take yourself off the drug and maybe you later get healed, it's not something you come and be preaching to other people. It's based on the revelation that God gave to you. Are you getting my point? You don't come and say, I was sick. There are some things that God, you don't come, because other people will hear that testimony now and leave. I think these men of God, who their son have this diabetes, they take him off drug. The insulin they were giving, the boy later died. He's even a young boy. So you don't, so see, like somebody rightly put it, that when spirituality, I mean, science is one of the is a body in which spirituality finds expression. Science is one of the bodies in which spirituality does what? Finds expression. This medication you are talking about, some of the things they use in making it is created by God. Are you getting my point? It's not what? Created by God. So if something is true, it should be able to stand both spiritual and logical research. We should be able to, when we scrutinize it, spiritually or logically, we should find answer in it. We should be able, it should not be dodgy. Just the example I give, the example of healing, that if you are healed and say you are healed in the name of Jesus, you should go to the hospital and see that, hey, God has healed me true. So the medication or the medical word, some people will come, God has put my doctor to shame. It's not your doctor. Your doctor only said what he saw. It's not your doctor that gave you cancer. It's not your doctor that gave you a headache. He said, I had this particular thing before. Fibroid. Doctor, they said I have it. God has put them to shame. I said I will not do, what do they call it? Is it CS? No, doctor, they say I must do it. Many people have also died because they want to give birth naturally. Are you getting that? So we are saying that the Christian faith that we are believing, we are not afraid for people to go and scrutinize it, because it is true. So both in logic and in spirituality, you find the answer there. Some faith, when you begin to check it, you begin to make research, it does not make sense. But the Christian faith that we have, when you check the thing, when you follow it, when you are open-minded, you can see the answer both logically or what? Spiritually. Number 5, what you have in mind when you're having a conversation with atheists. Every worldview requires faith, including atheism. Every worldview requires faith, including atheism. So the burden of proof is not only on the believer. Anyone who claims God does not exist must also justify that claim. Every worldview requires faith, including atheism. So the burden of proof is not only on the believer. Anyone who claims God does not exist must also justify that claim. So don't think that we are only the one that will be arguing that God exists. You that you are saying God does not exist also, you must also prove it. So the burden of that claim is not only on the one saying that there is God, on the believer. Also, you who is saying there is no God, you must show us. So when you're having that conversation, you must also ask the person, you say there is no God. And the burden of proof is not only on me, it's also on you to show us that there is no God. Show me. How do you come to that? See, it is even faith for you to believe that there is no God. And now the kind of do you know how long it will take you to come to that conclusion that there is no God? Everybody has faith. You just believe the kind of faith that you have or who you have your faith in. So for you to say there is no God, you also have faith in something, that there is no God. That's faith already. So the burden of proof is not only on us that is a Christian, also on you as an unbeliever to prove to us that there is no God. Now, let's go into it. How do we? I brought how many things here? I think 5. So how do you now? The first thing I said, these 5 things I said before, are the things to have in mind when you're arguing, when you're about to have this conversation with a believer. I mean, with an atheist. Now, let's look at what are the kind of conversation. How do you make your point that there is God? How do you make your point that there is God? Number 1, the universe is fine-tuned. The universe is fine-tuned. I'm going to explain. The universe is fine-tuned. All right, the universe is fine-tuned. The law of physics, you may not write this one, just pay attention. The law of physics are not random, constant, like gravity, atomic force, and cosmetic expansion are perfectly balanced. If any of them change slightly, life will be impossible. This is this is a life room full of explosive to allow life. Now, what does this say? When it says the law of physics are not random, constant, like gravity, atomic force, and cosmetic expansion, he's saying that how do we explain the law of gravity? How do we explain all of this system? And the way, I've forgotten, there's this particular movie where this boy was very intelligent and I've forgotten the name. I don't know if you guys have seen the film before. One young guy like that. I wish I can remember that film now. So and you see all of the things I design in the world, this argument of universe is fine-tuned. If one thing just shakes small like this, like your eyes, the way your eyes design. When I was talking to a Chinese scientist, he said the design of the eyes, he said if just one thing leave out of it, you cannot see. Eyes will not be possible. Even the world is saying that the way the world is designed, law of gravity, he said if one thing just miss in all of the physics law, he said if one thing is not in place, life will not be impossible. It's like putting an explosive in a room that should bomb, but the way they arrange it, if you shift one thing, there's one video I usually see. They say in Microsoft, if you just shift one thing like this, all design will change. So that's how the world is. Imagine one of these things is not in place. The world will not be impossible. For you to have that kind of accuracy, there must be a design that kind of thing. Look at, see, have you ever seen the human body before? When you watch all of this behind the scene of human body, the way you eat food, the way everything digests, look at the design of the body. If one thing is just wrong, imagine people go for surgery, they'll say there's just one small stone of the kidney, and that person will not be able to eat or have balance just because something little thing is there. They have to go. Imagine, so how do you now say all of this things just evolve from somewhere? Look at the design of the world. See, there's a way we have too much sun, there will be trouble. There's a way we have too much rain, there will be trouble. How do they know when to evolve the time, sun, all of these things? Now, scientists, they may be able to explain all of these things, but we can also come to a point that this design, there must be a designer that designs it. Because if it's not properly designed, the world will be impossible. Also, why is it that there are other planets, but look at the planets where we are in, have everything okay? Where the sun is, we know we have Abuja sun can be very funny, but if the things are more than the way they should be, life will not be impossible. Will be impossible. So this argument said the universe is fine-tuned for human to stay. Because even our body, if any small thing happens to our body, you see the way, before you know, you don't go. If, for instance, you cannot breathe for 2 minutes here, God forbid, you can't breathe. Do you know what will happen to the person's body? If somebody cannot go to toilet for, let me say, 4 days or 1 week, you are trying, you cannot go to toilet. Do you know? So how is it that this is properly designed? All of our bodies, everything functioning properly. You cannot make this argument without arguing that there's truly somebody that makes this design. So that's number one, that the Lord, the universe is fine-tuned for the look at everything going properly. You can't say this thing. Imagine you come into this church and you see all this chair arranged like this. They don't clean everywhere. This thing. And you ask me, I say I was not here. Somebody must have come in to say it. You cannot say, oh, we arrange the chair as we are going. Then we'll come back the next Sunday, we'll see the chair like this. I say, no, nothing. The chair don't disappear like that. No. Even if it's an angel that came to do it, somebody came to do it. Do you get? Even if you say, I went home, there was no money in my pocket, I saw money in my pocket. It's an angel that brought it. Somebody came to do what? To do it. So you can't see something and say somebody did not come to do it. That's number one. Number two, morality points to a moral lawgiver. Morality points to a moral lawgiver. Morality points to a moral lawgiver. Every human recognizes what is wrong. That's every human being recognizes what is wrong. The morality points to a moral lawgiver. Do you know that even these bandits in Nigeria, they know what is wrong? That's why they can kidnap somebody. They are not believers. Even people who say there's no God, they know what is wrong. That's why they kidnap people. And I say they kidnap in a way that, why don't they come and say, let us go? We know that Nigeria is a very funny place. So example I'm giving, I'm not giving in the context of Nigeria. I'm giving in the context of a country that is working well. And what do I mean? That normally you see that robbers will be afraid of where their military base and all of these things. So you are not able to attack that place. If you know what you are doing is right, you will be doing it in the front of everybody. But they will come in the night, like I said, I'm not giving context of Nigeria. Because everything that should not happen in the same world has happened. So I'm saying that you see that they are even afraid because they know that what they are doing is wrong. How do you come to that point where you know that what you are doing is wrong? If there is a moral law, then there is a moral lawgiver. Somebody who don't even know God, imagine somebody is sitting down here and the person went to use the toilet, and before coming back, somebody here is sitting there. And then the person came and said, please stand up from my chair. And the person sitting there slapped the person who is the original owner of the chair. Now, everybody in that hall will stand up and say, what you have done is wrong. Even in the entertainment world, where some people don't even know the Lord, if somebody do something that is wrong, everybody, this one you have done now is wrong. So if there is a moral law, if we know that even killing people, murder, all of these things, that's why you see that some people, human beings, they cannot even kill chicken because you just feel like there is something, that. So if there is a moral law that makes people know that something is wrong, then there is a moral lawgiver that gives it. Because there are things that truth are not subjective. Everybody knows that murder is bad. How do we come to that conclusion? Even those who are not believers, even those who do not know the Lord. We all know that what? To murder somebody is wrong. We all know taking something that does not belong to you is wrong. How do we come to this conclusion if there is no moral lawgiver? So for us to come that truth of murder is not subjective, you can't say to me, murder is right. To you, everybody, same person, except the person is mentally not sound. Every same person know that murder. How do all of us come to that conclusion that when it comes to this thing, it is wrong? So for every moral law, then there is a moral lawgiver, because we come to a conclusion that certain things are wrong. Number 3. It's just 5 I have here. Number 3. Everything contingent. How do I, where's my list here? Contingent. CONTINGENT. Everything contingent. CONTINGENT needs a necessary being. I'm going to explain. Everything contingent needs a necessary being. See, everything in the universe depends on something else. Everything was in the universe depends on something else. I say everything contingent needs a necessary being. So I said everything in the universe depends on something else. I'm going to explain what I mean. Human depends on earth. Earth depends on gravity. Stars depends on physical law. Everything in this world depends on something. Now, hear this thing I want to read. You don't need to write it. But if everything depends on something else, nothing would ever exist unless there is something that depends on nothing. Are you guys my point? But if everything depends on something else, nothing would ever exist unless there is something that depends on nothing. That being is necessary self-existence. We call him God. I'll read again. But if everything depends on something else, nothing would ever exist unless there is something that depends on nothing. I'm going to look at the example. Imagine all these our phones. Are you guys watching? Before I make this explanation. Now, imagine, how do I, okay, this phone, there's another phone is standing on. It's standing on another phone. It's standing on another phone. It's standing on another phone. There must be one that is not resting on anything, that is self-existence for others. Because if everything is standing on something, nothing will be existing. Except there is one that is not resting. That one not resting on something is God. That's why we call him self-existing. It's from self-existing that other one that is existing came about. So if you say everything exists from something, it exists from, there must be one that is not existing from something for others to exist from. Are you getting my point? So if there is one like that, that's why we call him self-existing God. So he's existing by itself for others to exist. If you say it's Big Bang Theory, this it came from something, we came from it, all those ones, where did they come from? So you see, like I said, but if everything depends on something else, nothing would ever exist unless there is something that depends on nothing. That being is necessary self-existing. We call him what? God. So that one that is not resting on anything, that is self-existing, is who we call God. Number 4. It's almost like number 5, number 3. There's something from nothing dilemma. There's something from nothing theory. There's something from nothing theory. There's something from nothing theory. I read, pure nothingness cannot produce something, cannot produce something. Pure nothingness cannot produce something. The fact that there is something rather than nothing is profound mystery that points to a creator. I come again. Pure nothingness cannot produce something. The fact that there is something rather than nothing is a profound mystery that points to a creator. Pure nothingness, you can't say the world comes from nothing. Nothing cannot produce something. The fact that there is something that is produced shows that there's a creator that produced it. Are you getting my point? You can't say the world came from nothing. Nothing cannot produce something. So the fact that you said nothing has produced something, it shows that that thing you are calling nothing is something that produced something. Do you get? So that thing you call nothing that produced something, something cannot exist from nothing. So the fact that there is something shows that what you call nothing is a creator that produced the something. So you can't just say, you might just say something come out. No, you can't. Even then, the atheists, they don't agree to it. When you say, for instance, when you say, I was praying and then I saw money in my pocket, and it's a lie. You put the money there. They believe that everything, there is something, human being. So you cannot now want to fight what you agree before. And then want to come, you want to deviate from it. So for you to say something exists, that nothing, it shows that that nothing is a creator that created that what you are calling something. So something cannot exist without what something. And that something is what we call what? God, the creator. Number 5, which is the last one. The cosmological argument. Cosmological argument. COSMOLOGICAL. The cosmological argument. Everything that begins to exist has a cause. Nothing appears without a reason. Everything that begins to exist has a cause. Nothing appears without a reason. Evolution explains how life changes, but it does not explain how life started. It's like explaining how a book gets new edition, but ignoring who wrote the first edition. The first life must have come from a source, and the source must be by must be beyond life as we know it. So cosmological argument is saying that everything that begins to exist has a cause. Nothing is like saying that maybe they wrote another edition of a book. You are acknowledging the edition of the book that they wrote, but you are not acknowledging the person who wrote the first edition. So in saying that there cannot be without, you can't say something happened without a cause. How did they say that thing? That to every effect, I mean to every cause there's an effect, or to every cause there's an effect. So mean that for every cause you see, there's an effect. Nothing can, it's just like the other one, that nothing can come out from something. There must be a source that produce what you are saying. You know, like example, I wish I had the video here. I was seeing a video where a lady was saying that in I forgot that. He said in Microsoft. So she was in the house. The house was designed somehow. She now said POV in Microsoft. When you touch anything, everything changes. So she touched the table, and then everything in the room changed to another color. So designers, graphic designer will understand this thing. Just saying that in micro, when you touch anything, everything changes. So you cannot now come and say it shows that even that room you are, it shows that anything you see at all is because a designer designed it. The example I'm giving now, you cannot come and say, for instance, imagine this light here, or you say, I just came into this place, I saw all of this in design. Imagine getting back to your house now, you see they have prepared food, they have done something for you. That means somebody actually came in to do that thing. And the example I gave, even if you say that it's an angel that came, somebody still came into that place. Even if you say it is God that did it, God still did that. So nothing that can actually come from nothing. So saying that the world just evolved like that, no, it does not make any sense. You may not want to attribute to it that nothing that brought that something is God, but we are telling you now that it is God. Do you get it? So you cannot come and say this word came from nothing. Look at the design of this word. Does it even look like something that will just happen like that? It shows that what? That somebody, in this word, the kind of design that this word did, it shows that there is a designer. So to every design, there is a designer to it. These are our arguments. A short service. Is there any question?
Yes.